Hey guys, it's time for chapter 8 of 50 Shades of Grey, in which Anastasia and Christian finally sleep together and you get to experience all of that fun stuff. This chapter made me laugh hysterically, sob in frustration, and want to throw everything at the wall because I hated it this much. And it doesn't get any better. So let the nightmares begin. So, Christian's all like upset and shit that Anastasia didn't tell him that she was a virgin, and then it makes her feel guilty for not telling him, which she shouldn't feel that way because she doesn't need to tell him that she's a virgin. And then he's like, I knew you were inexperienced, but a virgin? And then it just kind of adds to the whole idea that society has that women need to feel guilty when they're virgins and also feel guilty when they're not. So either way, you're kind of hated by society and you're viewed as like dirty or like a prude, and there's just this double standard, and it's so ridiculously stupid, and it makes me so angry. And he's like, how have you avoided sex? Tell me. And it's just like, good God. Anyway, they then come to the decision, or Christian does anyway, that he can make an exception. I really want to make love to you. Please come to bed with me. Blah, 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 whatever. So they get there, and then he's like, do you have any idea how much I want you, Honest Deal? Do you have any idea what I'm going to do to you? Then it continues and whatever. So, let's see what happens. So he undresses her, I guess, something like that. And then he gets down to between her thighs, and then he's like, you smell so good. And then she like convulses. And the sad part is, E.L. James uses the word convulses multiple times in this chapter, which made me start laughing horribly, because convulse is not a really good word for anything sexual, because when I think of convulse, I kind of think of something like a seizure or something like that, where it's just like really awful and they're just lying on the ground and twitching and their back is all arched, and it's just really, it's not a very attractive word, I guess, and it just for me has really comical visual things to it, at least. So the other funny thing as well is that the page before he starts doing this, he steps out of his Converse shoes and reaches down and takes off his socks, whatever, and then he starts he undoes, when she could have just said unties, Anna's Converse, so I guess they wear matching Converse. Cool, awesome, something that connects them, makes them interwoven and connected. Then he starts, like, kind of fondling her foot and stuff, like, licking it and stuff, and so that's really turning her on, and, then he asks her to show me how you pleasure yourself, but the thing is, she's never masturbated in her life, so she's like, oh, I don't, sorry, yeah. And then he's like feeling her up and he's like, your hand fits me perfectly. And I'm just like, shut the hell up. Shut up. Then he starts fondling her breasts. And this becomes the best part of the chapter, because he's feeling her up and she's like, oh, my nipple's hard. And I'm like, how do you know? Are you like feeling yourself up at the same time? Because you can't really feel it. She convulses again, which is hysterical. And then she proceeds to orgasm from him simply playing with her nipples and fondling her. And that makes me rage, because clearly E.L. James doesn't know how the female body functions when it comes to sexual things, because unless if Anastasia Steele has some sort of like medical disposition where she can just kind of orgasm at will or something like that, it's not really possible for her to do so from him simply kind of like feeling her up top. So that makes me really angry, because that doesn't really seem possible to me. Not only that, but right after she has her orgasm, which of course is going on down there, and her first time, she's probably going to be really sensitive and doesn't want him touching her down there, I would think. And then he goes for it anyway. He's just like, alright, time for round 2. And blah blah blah. And then, this was another good part. Pulling off his boxer briefs, his erection springs free, And all I can think of in my head is just like boxer briefs being pulled down and then like this spring comically appearing out of nowhere and just making the comical sound of like boing and just going back and forth all over the place. And that just made me laugh so hard because I was just like, this is not real. I can't picture this, and I'm so glad I'm not having any sort of like sexual fantasy connection with this book. It makes me so happy. Then she's like, oh gosh, his considerable length, will it fit? Will it? How? And I'm just like, oh, cool. He then slips inside of her after he tells her, I'm going to fuck you now, Miss Steele. Hard. And he slams into me. Arg! I cry as I feel a weird pinching sensation deep inside me as he rips through my virginity. That sounds really freaking god-awful, ripping through the virginity. Alright. And then she's just like, I'm overwhelmed by the feeling inside of me. And I'm like, okay, first up, this is your first time. You've never done any sort of experimentation before. I'm pretty sure it would not feel that good whatsoever. I just don't understand. And I hate this book because it's so horribly unrealistic. And it just makes me hate everything. So they keep going, blah, blah, blah. And they both come together, sort of, yes, yeah, more or less, whatever. Then they go at it motherfucking again for the third time, and he tells her he's gonna take her from behind and grabs her by the hair, holding her in her place, and she can't move her head. I am pinioned beneath him, helpless, and that sounds really fucking god-awful. Not only that, but he's still wearing his shirt, and then he gets, like, all, like, weird about it. Like, he freezes and then he shuffles out of it, and then whatever. And then you find out at the end of the chapter, like, he's really uncomfortable with people touching him, which is kind of like, whatever, cool. Now you get to see more mysterious sides of Christian Grey and why he doesn't like being touched, I guess, is what is supposed to be revealed. Anyway, he talks the entire time they're having sex, and that really bothers me, because it's just like, for me, it feels really awkward when he's saying stuff like, you're so wet, so quickly, so responsive, oh, Anastasia, I like that a lot. Open your mouth, see how you taste, suck me, baby. And then she starts, like, sucking on his fingers, sucking wildly, which is also a really bad mental image. And then she's like, holy fuck. This is wrong, but holy hell, is it erotic? And I'm just like, stop. And then he tells her that he wants to fuck her mouth. And that was probably when I lost it. And also gagged violently. Because it's hysterical, and it's also really awful. Like, if anyone were to say that to me, I would just be like, I'm gone. Bye. No, this isn't happening. I'm like, ugh. So they keep going, and he says, every time you move tomorrow, I want you to be reminded that I've been here. And I'm like, fucking psychopath, Christian Grey. And then, as he's thrusting into her, he states, you are so sweet, he murmurs between each thrust. I want you so much. You are mine. Come for me, baby. And this fucking book. And she comes loudly calling out a garbled version of his name into the mattress, and then she promptly proceeds to pass out after sex. What the fuck? Then she wakes up, and he's not there, so she goes to find him because she hears this piano music playing, and she sees him at the piano, naked! Oh wait, but he's not really naked, he's actually wearing pajama pants! So she goes from saying that he sits naked, and then, like, half a page later to being like, oh, I notice now that he's wearing pajama pants. And it's like, really? Really? All of my commentary basically says, I hate this book. Good fucking god, this is so stupid. I hate everything. What freaking even? Also, so then he's like, you should go back to bed. And she's like, I can't, you're not there with me. And he's like, okay, babe, I'll be right there. And so they get there, and then there's blood on the sheets. Evidence of my lost virginity. And, you know, instead of, like, ripping off the sheets or going somewhere else to sleep, or instead of changing the sheets, they decide to sleep on them with the blood on there. which is pretty freaking gross. And that's pretty much the end of chapter 8. And I still hate everything, and I really hate this book. And on to chapter 9, more of the stupid sex scenes coming right up.